I forget because they're set to private.
Okay.
So
like automatically.
Automatically set to private because we're under. So you have to have over 1,000 subscribers or something.
Okay.
So come on, subscribe.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but it's still pretty good. I mean, set to private, and then we go and set it to
Yeah, all right. But
public.
that
So it's
gives
fine.
us a bit of control then.
I guess so, but I forgot, and also I'm a little bit embarrassed about the one where I woke up a bit churlish and
That's okay. Yeah, it's the lives of our day.
annoyed.
It's
Irritated.
authenticity, right?
And-
it's real.
Entitled? And I'm
real
like,
TV. Real TV.
yes. But it's like I'm a bit embarrassed.
Don't be.
So anyway, we are.
That's authentic. All right?
Yeah. That's what people don't want to show. What assholes we all are as human beings. People don't want others to see that. I don't know. Anyway, good morning.
Assholery.
Yeah. Are we allowed to swear this early in the morning?
I don't know.
On YouTube?
It's Sunday too. It's God's day.
Is it? Right. Well, according to the Gregorian calendar, every day is some sort of God's day. But anyway, I still haven't finished talking about all of that to do with the calendar and the leap year, etc., etc. But today we're just gonna riff. We're gonna talk about what we did last night and
What a fun night.
yeah, fun day, fun night. And look, I have because. Don't look at my nails, just look at the color of my nails. Look, curry.
Oh, curry fingers, yeah.
Because Duane made roti and cauliflower curry yesterday.
Oh, cabbage.
Cabbage!
Gobi.
Yeah, so what do we call cauliflower?
Gobi full gobi or something. So flour.
Right.
Flour gobi.
So cabbage I know as bhaji.
So bhaji is green.
Yes.
So that's English cabbage.
Right. I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a giggle at because you have to be Hindi-speaking Indian, really, and we're I'm Indo-Fijian. Duane is half Indo-Fijian, but not brought up as because it's just a mixed race family. There's a lot of that in Fiji, so usually. You know what? The Hindi usually goes first, the Indian side of it first, because I know this is just supposed to be, it's a fun fact. Well, Fiji's quite racist. Sorry. I have, it's, I guess everywhere is really.
Yeah, and I've been involved in a little bit of racism myself.
Oh, wow. Just some casual truth thrown in there. Haven't we all? But what do you mean?
It's not racism. It's just how we speak to each other.
But
there's an understanding.
Yes, and we've talked about this before. And what Duane's referring to is the fact that in Fiji we there's certain terms that have become adjectives, and they're not terms. They're words. They're actual names. They're actually nouns. They're actually the racial grouping noun, and people just throw it in so casually now that I, who have been offshore. I have been an Australian citizen for a quarter of a century and have just when I hear it, you don't do it, but in Fiji, people just throw they're this and I'm like what? And it's all a bit. It makes me realize how it makes me feel a bit backward, really.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Because it's almost like this casual ribbing of each other. Based on race is because it's not hatred.
No.
It's
almost part of the language.
It's a stereotyping, though.
Right. Yeah.
It is a stereotyping, and then stereotyping in the hands of the wrong people, in the mouths of the wrong people, come out racist.
It can be racist. It can be used. Yeah. So.
But and I'm not excusing us. I'm not saying it because now I don't use any of these terms. But anyway, but it's like being called a curry muncher, like original.
Damn straight.
Yeah, like yeah, I am. Hello, see my fingers. So yes, we get these curry fingers because we eat with hands, and hand eating is look. We weren't born with cutlery in our hands, people. Okay, goodness me. I don't know where the use of chopsticks came from within the Chinese or the rest of the Asian origin.
Because they had knives and forks, apparently.
They probably did. That's
Yeah.
probably where everything came from,
right.
because the Chinese were the ones who were very proper etiquette.
Yeah.
You know, they were very, we're talking, you know, just so for them it was, and of course that's perhaps why they looked down at the Indians and the, you know, the Arabic people who were eating with their hands. But it's so very elegant to eat with hands. But of course, so are chopsticks, etc. But I love the way you eat with your hands. To me, that's how I think the Bedouins and the you know, the rulers, and how they, it's very very efficient. You take the bread and you scoop and blah blah. The breads being, you know, Middle Eastern breads, Southeast Asian breads, etc. And I love it, and it's very neat. It's just very beautiful. Your plate is left spotless afterwards, and it's wonderful. But eating with your hands is, of course, a very spiritual thing. And it was all about connecting with your body. And you're supposed to, the original Hindu Vedic text, and please understand that even though I do understand the classism within all of this, okay, because being of North Indian origin, and I do know from any ancestral tests that I have a bit of South Indian in it, which I think I like, you know, because then that makes me feel like, well, okay, North, South, and I'm from Fiji.
So that's the original Indian?
South Indians are the original Indians, yes, the indigenous Indians. It was, but the North Indians were the invaders, the Indo-Aryans, the Persians, and then the Mughal Empire. So there's just a whole lot of things that have happened to India, but you know, it's always the indigenous who pay, right? What indigenous of any country? You know what? Fiji is perhaps the only country whose First Nations people have first rights.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, wow.
And that is after it being taken away from them by the colonizers, first the Americans and then the British, of course. The British brought in to save the Kaiviti from the Americans who were going to destroy. You're putting oh, we're having coffee today.
Yeah, that's right.
Yum!
Yeah.
And you're putting saffron in. Yum! Wonderful. So yeah, but who has the rights? And even now, though, sadly, the Kaiviti feel that they don't have enough because of the economic demographic in the country and who it is. But it is still the Indo-Fijian that gets blamed for it. It's quite sad. The colonizers and their descendants don't get blamed so much. In fact, they're seen as, I don't know. Anyway, but
Still master.
still okay. Well, yeah. Well, we've seen it.
Yeah, it's weird.
We've seen it in action, and anyway, I would never ever swap being from Fiji. I love being from Fiji. I personally have not had the consequences of being an Indo-Fijian because I was born to privilege and then had that. But I've had the racism. You know, I've had it yelled at me. I've been anything that's all of a sudden then you become the Indian Bajaru or something. It's like, what? But then I think that's something about human nature, right? There's some racial and physical. So fat became a derogatory term instead of being an adjective to describe, and even skinny becomes
so
is a derogatory thing.
For
you know,
me, it's like my aunties or something. They always say, "Man, you're skinny. You should eat more."
They should eat less the bloody.
And I'm like, okay.
Aren't these are your aunties?
Wait.
Sorry, are the rape the earth type people?
Yeah. So it's weird. I don't get it. Like I'm supposed to be fat.
There's this mentality amongst people who should never have wealth. People who should never have wealth always eat it.
Yeah.
And it becomes this. It's always depicted like they like to depict rulers, etc. as always, big people, fat people. In all cultures, Indian and whatever, royalty is always depicted as And that's to show greed, avarice, greed, like
Yeah.
that just so,
Or abundance,
well,
right?
yeah, but to me it shows greed.
Yeah, well, I mean, it shows wealth.
But it's supposed to show, yeah, then they dismiss, anyway, where have we gone with this?
Anyway.
I'm talking about your aunties, yeah. Your aunties are part of a
No, well, you know,
demographic that,
not my family.
yeah,
Not my
not your family, no.
No, I mean, no, they're not my family.
I know. Ah, darling, within each
I
tribe is born an anomaly. Dun dun dun.
always say you can choose your family.
Yes, and that's people say that, but I don't like friends either. Jokes. Joking. God. I like people. No, you know what? I love humanity. It's people I have a problem with. People are, I feel people are worth saving, of course. This world is worth saving. The world is worth more than the people on it. But anyway, where were we going? Stereotyping. And I was talking about how I feel that the Kaiviti are one of the few First Nations people. Let me just, I do need to clarify, not because I feel like I have to, but I'm a bit pedantic that way, and I feel I have certain brain patterns that require me to tell you the facts of things. So Indigenous and First Nations. Are the Kaiviti indigenous to Fiji? No. Are they the First Nations? Yes. First Nations people should always have first rights, I feel.
Yeah.
But we all came from somewhere else. You've got to understand that indigenous means occurring naturally. Well, maybe plants are indigenous then. Not all, of course. Like, for instance, mango is not indigenous to Fiji. Mango was introduced by the Indians. So mango is distinctly a very Indian plant. And there's lots of things that have now, through migration, through birds, through human beings picking plants, through their seeds left on their shoes, etc. Plants have now gone all over the world, as have humans. So borders are being tightened even more. Gosh, I had all these news things that I wanted to talk about. Oh gosh. Putin is threatening nuclear war. And meanwhile, in India, the Ambanis, who are a huge, filthy rich family, billionaires, and billionaires can go on and they do employment, they do this, they do that. Mate, you're not supposed to be a billionaire, but okay. If you do all of that, you're not supposed to be a billionaire. To me, that just means, well, sure, if you're doing this and doing that, doing this and doing all these charitable works, why are you increasing your billionaire wealth? How is that possible? Other than profiting off the backs of your employees. So they've paid Rihanna, a billionaire herself. She became a billionaire not from her music, but from her cosmetics. Because she has, everyone knows, and I've got products from her, but only glitter stuff, and lipstick, that's it. So I can't remember what it's called, Fenty, which is her surname, I think.
Oh, she must have been put on Time magazine too, huh?
No, actually, she hasn't been, surprisingly. Even though for black women in particular and brown women, Rihanna's cosmetics company was a huge deal, because she came out with all normal at this stage. Now everyone has shades for everybody, but prior to that, very few cosmetics companies had shades do you know what foundation is, darling? I don't use any of that.
Yes.
But foundation and concealer. And so back in my day, brown women, we used to have this sort of really pale foundation. You can see it on even supermodels like Naomi Campbell back in the day. Faces are sort of whitish and it's not matching because the foundation didn't match. And, makeup artists were like, oh, well, we don't have anything to match. It was just a real discrimination. And so Rihanna brought out the cosmetics line, was it Fenty? Yes. That had a shade for pretty much every skin shade.
Yeah, wow.
And it was revolutionary. And I was really happy for everybody, but now I'm seeing something else. That now everyone's jumping on this bandwagon, which then led me to this one thing. Why is everyone still feeling the need to hide their skin? Why does everyone still need to look flawless? Which, you know, I don't think we're being empowered at all. That's just giving us more and more tools to hide. It's crazy. So there's this cosmetics, Australian-based cosmetics company, well, not company, or brand. They've come up, and it was started by Southeast Asian girls who were adopted. So they've been brought up by white Euro parents in Australia, and they're Indian girls. And they brought out a foundation and all that. And I wrote a comment on this, like, but why the need to hide beautiful brown skin? Why? And oh gosh, I got an essay in reply, and it's always so smug. I'm like, mate, from an old woman's point of view, nothing's changing, everything's getting worse. By now, things should have been like, women should have been like, fuck makeup, fuck cosmetics, fuck foundation, this is my skin. But no. Everyone's still hiding and calling it empowerment. Like,
Yeah, wow. That's weird, right?
yeah. And this we'll have to have this conversation about the empowerment for the other things we've been talking about we'll do it on our podcast,
Yeah.
Radio Fly. But so this other, and like I had mentioned in another live, this woman who is a cosmetic surgeon, or not a cosmetic surgeon, a doctor who does fillers and stuff like that. And she's helping other people of color become Euro, is basically what she's saying. She deleted my other, like I had left a comment like, it's okay, great. It's good that you feel that this is empowerment, but it still doesn't explain why young women are more than ever placing their value on what they see in the mirror rather than what they see in themselves. Anyway, let's not talk about all of this stuff just yet for a Sunday. Why not, right? Because you go to church and you're supposed to put all sorts of other people's words in your head to forget your own thoughts. Cool. Look, as I've said, I understand why religion was created. I'm just going to, because that's really loud, really, really loud. So I'm just going to, while the kettle is on, excuse me. Sorry about that. We are in Studio K. And so the background noise is just a fact of life. But I noticed that the microphone had picked up the kettle quite loudly. So, yeah. I was talking about Putin. He's a lighter topic, nuclear war. Oh, and I was talking about Rihanna, right? Like Rihanna. And the Ambanis, the billionaires. And it's all for show. It's like these poonwallahs. You don't know anybody I'm talking about. But okay, I'm just going to talk about what's recently. So the Ambanis have lavish, crazy weddings. And they, to show off their wealth, will pay $10 million for an international superstar. So Rihanna is a billionaire based on her cosmetics. Look, yes, great. As a black woman, fantastic, go get the money. But I really started seeing people differently when you see motives. So Rihanna has a lot of products, and she always likes to use them on herself, blah, blah, blah. And then she was doing all this, and then she was contouring her nose. And then she said, you've got to contour black noses because they're special, but she's contouring them to make it look like a Euro nose.
Right.
So So, what? Black noses are so special you've got to make them look like Euro noses by contouring? Yeah, then I realized, nah. People have always looked up to Rihanna as a role model because she's one of those cool girls, you know? She's cool. She's not a role model. She's just been able to capitalize on her talent and her looks. Don't forget that looks privilege, please. And, you know, and gain millions and then decided, and because she's cool, everyone's like, oh, I don't know. But anyway, I got a cough. Hello. It's Az is such a thank you. He's here. Hang on, I'm just gonna cough, honey. Yeah, I support the beauty industry too, Az. But when it's camouflage industry, no. And it's still dictated to by Euro stipulations. We're still all needing to hide and look, and everyone contours their nose to look a certain way. And that's what people call Caucasian. And again, PSA people, Caucasian doesn't mean Euro. Caucasian means a certain classification depending on features, and Southeast Asians are part of that. So Indians, any Southeast Asian is actually also classified as Caucasian. Caucasian does not mean Euro white. But it was also just a stupid classification, archaic, created by a German philosopher. Anyway, I'm talking about what's happening in India. So Rihanna was paid $10 million US to go and perform, and she, billionaire performing for billionaires. Meanwhile, the world is going to shit. This excess is disgusting. And I know that there are people who look at all of this and go, look, I don't know. There is such a thing as aspiration, and it is essential. People need to see what they can be. But this is greed. People are showcasing greed. People are showcasing their material privileges and wealth. I understand wanting to show a life that is nice. I have always, but like I said, anytime I've traveled in a way that is considered privileged, I don't showcase that. I don't check in the lounges. I find that all really ostentatious. And like, why? Why do you have to show off to people, that you're traveling up the front? I mean, I think that's, some parts of it are funny. Like if I've been traveling for work, and then I get flown up the front, etc. Then I do it because if it's free, then you do it to thank the and whatever. And when look. It's fun but I also find it quite ostentatious. I really do. I think it's quite vulgar to flaunt wealth. I really do. On the other side of it, I think it's also conniving to not showcase, to not show your privilege, to not, and then hide behind we're so hardworking and all that bullshit. When it's like, no. The wealthier you are, the easier it is to acquire wealth.
Yeah.
The more privileged you are, the more opportunities you get. A true rags to riches tale, not in this world anymore, people. It's a real hustler's world. So much so that people who did go to riches from rags, say 30 years ago, still feel the need to pound the pavement to get the Jennifer Lopez's of the world. Multi-swillionaire, but they still have to prove. The other side of it is that artists need to art. Lopez isn't one of them. She's a performer, and performers need to perform. So this is because I'm going back to this thing that's happening in India, and I'm really happy to see the comments that people are like, really, in a world that is going to shit right now, when these billionaires could use their billions to actually stop so much of the shit that is going on. And I think the Ambanis are mining people as well. So it's like, okay, so people, And maybe for all we know, Rihanna's going to take that $10 million and say, I'm going to send it to, people who really, really need it. No, it doesn't happen that way. Don't fool yourself. Also understand this. Charity is tax deductible. And that's why a lot of billionaires and millionaires do it, because then they get a huge tax benefit from it. Gosh, I hope your comments stay after this. I think they do. I do have toggled at the comments because Azrael's leaving some really interesting comments.
Oh, cool.
I think I can see them here, but they will stay after the live is over. Yes, because beauty is separate from cosmetics. Beauty is something that we have talked about. Beauty is a DNA trait. It's a DNA thing. And now everyone thinks beauty is something everyone can have. And this is where the ugliness has crept in. What am I saying here? It's contentious, I know. Am I saying that beauty is not for everyone? Yes, I am. I am saying that. Because you have to have the mind to back that beauty up. Because what is beauty? Beauty is really, truly subjective. It truly is in the eye of the beholder. It is a smile. It is the way a person holds himself. But true physical beauty, for me, is, as we've talked about, it is actually it is the billboard for what it actually is. As I said, how models were used and everything, all of this is now exploited. Beauty has been used as a commodity, as a trade, as an exploitation tool, as a manipulation tool, or getting exploited for we're talking millennia now. Millennia. Everything is so deeply ingrained that, as Duane and I were talking about the other day, it's not going to change.
Well, if it hasn't changed now, it's never going to change. Right?
Oof.
Something should have budged.
By now.
Is it getting worse?
Yeah.
I think so.
I've always thought that, for me, the way I see it, the older I get, the better I get is how I see it, because I have accumulated all these years of wisdom and experience and skill. And the vessel will naturally wind down so that the young people can have their time in the light, It's so, as I have said, imagine if, older people didn't wind down.
Yeah.
It's already bad enough that these old people are in positions of power and refusing to give over to the younger generations and making the younger generations feel,
Yeah, so Biden's 1,000 years old, man.
Oh, fuck.
What?
He was, look, I have to do the news someday soon, because there's things like, anyway. But the cosmetics industry is separate. So the cosmetics industry it's artistry. It is painting. It is, I find, because makeup artists skilled, and this is what we're going to be doing something, because you are an artist, and it'd be interesting to see how, not doing makeup, I can't see you doing makeup, darling, but just something we're going to be doing, and it's going to be kind of lovely.
Yeah.
But cosmetics now are used as armor and camouflage, and to now, always has been. We can go back all the way to ancient, old civilizations, Egyptian civilization, and the use of, kohl, surma, kajal. That's, Middle Eastern, and we all because it was always about enhancing. Now, I do find this kind of insane that religions that ask of their people to not have any flesh showing then allow makeup. You do understand that lipstick was created to showcase sexual arousal, that lipstick on lips was about the labia.
So,
to say that,
mimic the cunt.
yes, to show sexual arousal. So when a woman wore lipstick, it was to show she was a woman. And, sensual and sexual and fertile.
Blood?
Yes, darling. It was to show blood.
Right.
That because when women get sexually aroused,
right.
blood rushes to the area.
And she's ready now.
That's right.
Damn.
So that's what lipstick is about.
Yeah, sure.
And I really don't. And so for Middle Eastern, people, it was a way to show their husbands and partners, sort of like that.
Damn.
Because their religion requires them to, cover up, which is actually very practical reasons for that, because they live in very arid, dry, hot areas, which used to be oceans. That's why they're deserts of sand, because wherever there is sand in the world, there was an ocean. But because of that heat, it is, because I have traveled extensively in the Middle East and also out back, and, we have, darling, so you have to be covered up. You must stay covered up in places of heat, because your body will make the moisture evaporate and you will just and die. So this is why it's best to stay covered in really hot areas. But now we know, oh my God, just take all the clothes off, etc., etc. But really, the more clothes you have on, the better protected you are from the elements. And so that practicality became...
Yeah, and then the body works with it, right?
Yes, so we have talked about the fact that people will listen more to the fear of being punished by an invisible being rather than practical things. Who wants to listen to another human being saying, do this, do this, do this? But you put that person in authority or in the clouds.
Because naturally, if someone tells you to do something,
you're like,
the person's like going to rebel straight
yes.
away. Like, who are you to tell me what?
So this is why parents use God. Parents, because if they can't control their children, they will use God to do it. I had a falling out with a friend, about 15 years ago, because this friend who smoked weed and et cetera, and I knew what she was like, and what she was like when she was a teen. But to her daughter, she said, because the daughter was being not rebellious, just being a child pushing boundaries, because this is what children do. This is how they learn. And not everyone is equipped to be a parent either, as I've said before. We talked about this before. Psychological tests, please, for people who are going to drink, who are going to take psychedelic or and things that they call drugs, who are going to be police people. That's another thing and parents. And driving. Psychological tests. Are you equipped to handle the responsibilities of all of this? Parenting. All these people having children. All these people having wastes of space. All these wastes of space having more and more oxygen thieves. I did say I was going to keep it light, right?
Speaking of oxygen,
No.
This is carbon dioxide.
Oh! Australia, we were currently on this side of our country. There's a shortage of soda water and soft drinks because there's a shortage of carbon dioxide. That's kind of crazy. I remember science experiments on how we used to create carbon dioxide.
Well, humans create carbon dioxide. That's what we breathe out. What do you mean?
Or monoxide. No, right? What do we breathe out? Carbon dioxide.
Yeah, carbon monoxide is a product of...
Yeah, all that stuff out there, right?
Shit.
So, I don't know, but there's a shortage of carbon dioxide. It's like, oh my God, people are becoming so plastic that they're not even breathing out carbon dioxide anymore? Sup?
Maybe we are breathing out carbon monoxide.
Oh my God, yes. Because if all these people are plastic, and if all of us now have microparticles of plastic in us because it's all leached into the water, which then gets into the oceans, which then gets, evaporated and becomes rain that becomes, the water we drink. Science. Oh my gosh. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Anyway, so... all these are things news things, I was going to say. But anyway, we should just talk about what we did yesterday.
Yeah.
Fun things. We had a shoot, we photographed a performance. I am a performance photographer. Very few people can photograph performances like me.
The performance photographer.
Thank you. And at 53, I can say this now. People who have been photographed by me performance-wise know that there's very few people. Of course, there's excellent photographers galore who photograph technically, and they have the privilege of photographing, especially the Euro photographers, Euro white photographers, and especially in Australia. And if you have a huge social media following, then whatever. So they're technically perfect, and the performances have the money to have a full dress rehearsal, and so people can photograph,
Yeah.
But I've not had that luxury, because I've had to photograph while the show is going on many times. Sometimes I have been able to photograph at full dress rehearsal, but the thing about full dress rehearsal is that the performers don't give their all.
Right.
Because there's something about being on stage. We both
audience.
feel it, It's that energy, the expectation from the audience, and then I'm here.
Yeah.
Because when I'm a flamenco, performance in class, and be like da da da, because you don't want to,
Sure.
but you get onto stage and then it's different. It's different.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So even if it's a full dress rehearsal, performers do not have the energy, that electricity that happens when you are actually performing for real. So that's why I do love photographing a performance. Now, I've never, ever taken on a second photographer. I've always just I wish there were two of me, because you need to be, and very many times when I'm shooting in a performance venue, I've got to run from one side of the stage and not be in the way of the audience. I'm always like, excuse me, whatever, let me quick just crawl. I have crawled through rows to not, get in the way. And they always...
And you've gone around the thing to get to the
Oh
other
my
side.
gosh, I've got to talk about this one performance. Before I get back to this, I photographed, and this is really when I had just newly kind of started healing.
Yeah.
And look, I am trauma I have normalized. It happens to all of us. I have been very open about the crap that I have experienced, but I feel that it has all forged me. I'm now bored with this trauma stuff, I'm not boo-hooing it anymore, and I see now way too many people wallowing in it. And there's very few people who do, but as if you're still here, you're definitely one of them. Very few people who wallow in their trauma, but that's not to say it doesn't come out of the blue one day, and you're just like la 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 happy, and then bang. Ah! Acknowledging, having clarity sometimes it really takes a strong mind to heal. It really does. So a lot of people wallow in their trauma because the misery gets them more attention, and I don't know, people are not really encouraged to heal properly. Anyway, blah blah blah. So I was really exhausted, and my body, again, why I mentioned the trauma side, my body was physically broken when I was a child quite a few times. So, and because my mother and I were not allowed to get help for it, the bodies had to set themselves. So, as an old woman, postmenopausal, well, there's just a little bit of pain I have to deal with. But, interestingly, I feel so strong. And my healer, just imbues me with such love and purity. It's just, I feel, yes, my bones feel new. The bones of my brain feel new, and the bones of my body do too. So I was photographing, very privileged, very honored to do this, but that's because of my work. I was asked to photograph the Out Loud and Proud choir that was part of, was it 2022 or 2023? 2023 Mardi Gras, which Mardi Gras has just finished in Sydney. And last year I photographed the huge, from all over the world, choirs made up of gay people, and it was beautiful. It was at the town hall. It was huge. It was amazing. And, they sang a beautiful song by a First Nations composer, And you've seen the photographs, and they're beautiful. I think so. But my gosh, the town hall is huge. And that's when I realized I can't do this anymore. The physicality it requires. Cameras are heavy. Look, I have because I've always been active. Just because I don't go to the gym or anything.
Well, hang on, let me just break something.
Cameras are heavy, and so when you're photographing, and I have to and going up and down steps. It's like, really, I'm old, But also I was mentally not as strong as I should have been. So yeah, well,
that's about 5.
It's like holding a 7 kg weight constantly.
That's about 5 kgs already because of the mount and everything.
Yeah.
And this is about 2, maybe 1.5 kg.
Yeah.
That's a heavy camera.
Yeah. But it's great when you're doing it. It's fine. But anyway, I was just, and it's like you are not paying me enough to do what I do best, because there'll be some photographers who'll just stay in one area and maybe go another area, but I go up, right, left, or if you're watching it, right, left, down, back and front and behind and da 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 and da 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 da.
Also, you're a performer.
So
you feel the performance and you know where you need to be for the next shot.
Sure. That's what does make me an exceptional runway. I'm also an exceptional runway photographer. I create art. If you are, it's okay. I'm allowed to talk about this way about myself. It's not ego. I'm stating a fact. I look at this talent of mine and I'm like, wow, thank you. Sells, I don't think I'm so good kind of thing. It's like, I'm so very grateful for this skill, this talent that I have been able to earn a living out of one stage. Now it's, if you're an artist, freelance creatives, full-time, right. When people who are salaried then write and say to us, oh, I can't pay you this week. Yeah. It's like, okay, you've got a salary. We are full-time freelance creatives. Anyway, only artists understand other artists. And so like Ruchi Sankey Dance Company, who I am the official photographer for, and I'm going to get to this wonderful thing. And Duane is the official artwork, creator for, etc. So, my darling, I wish you were with me last year photographing the choir, because what a joy to be photographing with you last night. Because although you've been photographing with me since 2018.
Not like.
But
like
I've been. It's almost like I've been training you, and this is what I do. I like to share and pass on my skills, and this is why currently I'm mentoring someone I know has raw skill of writing, and it's about trusting yourself and just trusting the flow of your words, and as well. So this is in terms of writing. I'm mentoring, and that requires editing. So I've been throwing you in the deep end, throwing people in the deep end. You can't do that to everybody. Some people will not be able to. Some people need gentle guidance in that. I've always been a throw me in the deep end and then let's see. I'll panic like I don't know. Yeah, I can do this kind of thing. That's me. You're like, okay. And then there's other. So I have a knack of seeing the person who can be thrown into the deep end. So I think, no, you will, but you've got to.
Trust yourself.
You've got to trust yourself that you will float, you will swim, and then you'll eventually walk on that water. Vinaka Jesus, kind of thing, So, is that going to be seen as blasphemous? Yeah. I assure you, it's not.
Total blasphemy.
Really, but the thing about and even theologians will tell you, and historians, that walking on water was an archaic way of saying walking on the beach, because at times that shoreline, that beach would be covered by water at high tide. So they would still say, well, they're walking on water because that sand is actually from water. or that, you know, and so, yeah?
Yep. Yep.
Right. So, oh my gosh, but photographing, and now it's so since 2018, I've made you photograph me in shoots, etc., etc., and then after that, accompany me and be my assistant photographer, and so that I do all the main, and then you the fill-in photographer, right?
Yeah.
Because I've never ever been able to photograph with someone else because there needs to be a real harmony between it's because I don't want a clone. I don't like clones. I don't want someone to be like me. I am like me, thank you very much, and I wish to be the only one like me. I like you for you. I want people for who they are. Sometimes it does come across, well, you're trying to make me like you because I'm harsh. No, I'm not talking about you, right?
Yeah.
But other people who have said to me these things. Like, no. It's because I see something in you that I know is capable of doing these things. And perhaps my methods before were a bit tyrannical because I was hiding under my... Anyway.
No, you want people to be their best.
Yes, but there are different ways to do that now, and I understand. And not the way I used to be because I was I was hiding my own trauma,
Yeah, sure.
masking so effectively that I subconsciously I was like, if I can, and you broke a fingernail, you're traumatized? I don't think so. So I never ever acknowledged my trauma because I hid it from myself. And because of that, there's this smugness that comes into it. Anyway, but, so, fast forward to last night, and to be able to photograph, I can't describe it. I think we may need to talk about it on an episode too, darling.
Yeah, sure.
It was like, I don't have to rush around. I can actually just immerse myself in one spot, in the art of what I'm doing, because my husband is also photographing, but the harmony, and it's not that you photograph like me, you photograph, I don't know, it's a really hard thing. You photograph with your own eye, but I've always seen it. I've always seen that you have your own eye. So I may have mentored you, and like with anyone who I mentor writing-wise, and as an editor, I may be, but that's to get your voice out, to get your words out. It's like, come on, you know? It's the training, it's the coaching, it's to follow these they're not following, it's hard to
Wax on, wax off.
yeah, wax on, wax off. But that's a consistency of trusting yourself, kind of thing. Once you see a result from something, but it's also about breaking. It's like, break your constructs, break it. Everyone's like, no, you've got to be softly. Everyone's just, and it's like, well, yeah, I don't think so. But you have been one of the few people to really but you do that with everyone. You have no ego. In order to really you've got to have no ego. And that's something that's been an interesting thing for me. So throughout my lifetime, I have always responded well to being harshly talked to when I'm learning something, even by people who adore me. So my ex-flamenco teacher, I had to say to her, don't be sweet with me, because because Sue is just the most beautiful, gentle, loving, teacher, and just the most feisty, dynamic, she's teeny tiny, but on her as a flamenco dancer, woof, she's just all power. Yeah. But in her classes, she teaches very gently, because not everyone is actually going to be a performer, but I was one of her performers, one of her solo star performers. And I had to say, just, Sue, break me. I don't respond well to softly. I don't respond well to feedback. Criticize me or fuck off. Don't give me feedback. I don't need your feedback. But also, if you're going to criticize me, you better be better than me. Don't give me feedback. I don't, it's like, feedback is just for the people who couldn't ever do. Anyway, or go by the stipulations of the constructs. God, I talk about myself like I'm exempt from or any of this. No, I'm not. But anyway, so you have no ego, darling. And I needed my ego to be broken because my ego would see as it has, well, like, don't tell me, what are you, whatever. But if I have someone like, and that, like when I was skiing, snow skiing, I'm a snow skier, and learning how to snow ski, there's times when you're flying down a slope and all of a sudden it's like the slope just gets a little bit steeper. You're like this and you're like, yeah, I can do this. And like, and then you stop. Like, I can't do this because when you're high up, if you've ever jumped off a diving board or something or a cliff or something like that, from up there, it's like, oh my God. But when you're down there, it's like, is that all? It's just there. But before that, it's like, oh my God. So with skiing. So I needed to be like, come on, come on, you wimp. Like, how dare you? And then you just do it. You've got to, I can't do the soft, come on, honey, you can do it. Come on. Whatever. I don't respond to that. However, I do understand that people are different. So with my ex-stepchildren, I do understand that.
Plus Gen X.
Yeah, plus I'm a freaking Gen X, so we're a problem. But my ex-stepchildren, right? The different personalities, but the ones who are more capable, I was a little bit, and as they got older, they kind of like grateful for that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I was most loving parent. That's why I know you don't have to give birth. Okay, you don't have to have your own flesh and blood to be a parent, because I didn't give birth. But anyway, look, so to have that beautiful maternal bond and that love I have for my ex-stepchildren. But so that's what, and so you have no ego. So it's also easy then to not have to break you. It's just about like telling you something and you go, okay. And that's why you're good as a graphic designer, because no client is ever happy. And usually these clients had no clue what they wanted in the first place. They would say something, I want something gray with gold hearts on it to depict my, that's it. And then it'll be up to Duane, or the graphic designer, to then come up with, whatever, and then not to attach too much ego or emotion to it, because the client will always want to be a control freak. Oh my God. I can't, seriously. I think, but, so you've kind of understood that I'm a little bit of a control freak, a lot of a control freak before. And it was so wonderful and refreshing to work with someone who has no ego, but has the confidence of, I can do this. I love that. It was such a rarity. From that 6 years ago, darling, to last night, to seeing your skill, it's like, oh my gosh. It
was real fun.
I feel like Mr. Miyagi with the star kind of thing. It's just wonderful. It's wonderful. I'm really grateful for that, for the ability to be able to share my skills for someone else to develop their own skill.
Well,
I didn't want you to photograph like me. I didn't want a second. It was just like, this was, you and I are a photography duo.
Yeah,
we
sure.
photograph, and it's oh my God, it was so amazing.
It was cool.
We're looking forward to editing today.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's gonna be fun.
so that's really, it's again, another, all sorts, all sorts. And, but it was wonderful, and you still can't get yourself to acknowledge that, okay, you actually do know how to photograph. You are an artist with it's about, so what you're saying about just shoot, right? And now do you understand what I mean about being inside the barrel?
Yeah.
Being inside the lens.
Get lost in
You get follow. And because I am a performer, performance photography for me is, I feel it. So very, very often I have people coming up to me after the show is over who say, I was just watching you.
Yeah.
You said that to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, people have, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Was I in your way? Was I, But people, said no. But you seem to be performing. You seem to,
That's the other thing I've noticed about you. Because you're a performer, you count your foot's tapping sometimes, your fingers tapping.
Yes.
You're shooting, and it's the rhythm of the performance. So you're in it. It's quite fascinating.
I'm really grateful for this.
And I understand. I understood what that meant last night.
Right.
Because eventually I started to feel the performance.
Yes.
And it's as if I was shooting, but I was performing with them as well.
It helps that you have performed. It helps that you have a lot of rhythm.
Sure.
So this is it's interesting that people who are like majority photography is very much a Euro white. And if it's not Euro white male, it's definitely male oriented. All these photographers in Fiji, they're good photographers technically, but there's no soul, there's no energy in a lot of their imagery. And then a lot of times it's like I look at the photographers and I think, how are you a fashion photographer? But I guess it doesn't matter because there's a lot of designers and I look at them like, how are you designing such incredible clothes? But sometimes the artistry doesn't always show on the surface, which is a shame. I have always, when I'm in a media pit, I will dress up, and especially if I'm doing a fashion editorial, etc., I will still dress for how I want the model to respond to me. Anyway. But what a pleasure it is, my darling, to photograph. It's in harmony, that I just knew that you would, the photographs are sublime. This may sound like a mutual love fest, but so he's my husband. How wonderful to know that we have the unity of humanity, the way it's supposed to be. And that goes to a whole lot of things. When we were hugging, embracing this morning, and I love Duane's skin, and I love Duane's hair, and harmony is loving everything about the other person, but so many people want to change everything about the partner, or not like, or I know a friend and his ex-wife now, I think.
Wow.
Well, they've been apart for so long. How are they together still? Wants him to shave all his hair. Doesn't like hair. Then it's like, well, then you don't actually like him then, do you?
Exactly, yeah.
That's quite sad.
Yeah, that's tough.
So, but that's harmony. Being able to, everything is, but when you are with someone you want to change, you're not with the person. Change because something about them repulses you. There's healthy change too, like I wanted you to grow out of your assistant photographer to we photograph together.
Yeah.
Things. So weddings and things. Nope, there's two of us. And you're not my assistant. We're two photographers. I love that harmony we have. And that just works well. That just is such a good bonus for anyone hiring us, really. Because you get all angles and different, like when I look through your photos, it's like, wow, I've never gotten that. I photographed this show 3 times. I haven't gotten that thing and that. So this is why I know, my love. Anyway, all right. So I think it's enough for a Sunday. But it's a hot, muggy day in Sydney, even though it is now officially calendrical autumn. Not officially autumn. It doesn't that meteorological change doesn't happen until the equinox, and that's like March 19th, 20th, 21st, somewhere. It all changes because I have to finish talking about the calendars, and I will publish the other ones, especially from February the 29th. But thank you very much for being here today with us. The Daily Egg, the star of the show. Yay! Thank you very much for being here on Sunday, March the 3rd, 2024. And if you're watching this after, well, thank you very much for watching. Bye. See you later.